Good evening and welcome to PoliticIt podcast. Tonight we have Ricky Hatch with us. Ricky, you've been getting around. I mean, you've got a new national board that you're sitting on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I was appointed through the National Association of Counties. I was appointed to it's acronym heaven, the GASAC. It's called Governmental Accounting Standards Advisory Council. This is a council of about 35 people from across the country that advise the GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. That's the entity that establishes all of the accounting standards for governments throughout the nation. And if all governments have to issue financial statements, as they do that, they have to adhere to the accounting standards that are set by this advisory board. And so I'm part of the group that advises them as they look at different accounting theory and ideas. Sometimes it's not the most exciting stuff, but it's pretty important.
Well, it's unique because there's not many county officials that are on this board, are there?
No, in fact, I think I'm the only elected county level official on the board. It's filled with some electeds, but mostly it's practitioners, county comptrollers, state comptrollers. They have bond attorneys, financial analysts, bond ratings, and things like that. So one of the few that actually is an elected official at a local level.
So what was your connection to that?
Well, I'm a CPA and a county clerk and auditor, and so I have my hands in the finances of the county as well. And then up at the National Association of Counties, I chair the elections subcommittee, but that same entity also handles government finance. And so they talked with me, and I had the background, and so they asked me to sit on that committee.
Oh, so it was really through your work on elections and stuff.
Yeah,
that's a great honor, actually, I think, and I guess it speaks to your stature within that group, right? Some people, when you start serving on national committees and stuff like that, people sometimes say, well, that takes you away from your, day-to-day job. But I mean, how would you respond to that?
I'll agree. I worry about that. I don't want to do that. And I always tell my staff, I could die tomorrow and this office would run fantastically because I've hired fantastic people that they're skilled, they're sharp, they know what to do, and they're assertive. They take charge and they do what needs to be done. And so, I joke about that I could die and they would do well. But my goal there is to kind of remove obstacles, to support them, and to help guide the overall culture and direction of the office. But they're the ones that get the work done, and I think that's really how it should be. And so, because that
takes a good leader to be able to get people to the level that they can do that, though.
I think so, and I hope that I'm providing that level of service for them. But because they're so good, that allows me to step back and contribute at a statewide level, contribute at a national level, and it's good because I think if someone's going to participate in these councils and committees and things, you may as well have someone from a conservative state, a conservative county who espouses those conservative principles to help ensure that on a national level, those are in place rather than maybe having somebody that might not share our values.
That's great. Now you used to have a statewide. Are you still in your statewide office? Because you were at the Capitol a lot last year. Testifying,
yeah,
especially on the election rules, right?
And I'll be there again this year. I'm the chair of the Clerk's Legislative Committee.
Okay.
We're getting better at diffusing those responsibilities, those duties. We have a smaller subcommittee that works together quite nicely, and so I'm trying to step back a little bit so it's not a one-man show, and we've got some really sharp minds that'll help out a lot there.
Now, I don't think we're going to have as many election bills as we had last year, but I'm sure there will be some. I mean, you really can't do enough to secure the elections. I mean, that's got to be one of the biggest things on your plate right now.
Yeah, it's front of mind all the time. We're constantly looking for ways to improve, and sometimes that means changing the law. In the past 2 years, we passed 2 very substantial bills that have really increased a lot of the safeguards, added a lot of safeguards and controls to the elections process. And this year, we're saying these are some big changes. Let's let the dust settle. Let's see how these work, if they accomplish what we want in 24. And then if they don't, then we go back in and we tweak and change and rearrange and make it better.
I appreciate, when Ryan Wilcox and I came by your office, Senator Buxton was there as well. And it was nice that you walked us through the whole process and we filmed that, because I think it's important for people to know that there really are a lot of safeguards that you put in place, right, within the county.
Yeah, there are. And that video, I've shared a link to that video to so many people, because when we come in and give personal tours, I mean, that's what we gave you. And it's right up there. And they can watch it in their PJs in the middle of the night, and they don't have to come in. But we certainly welcome people to come in, but this is a great way to get familiar with the process. We've moved and have a new processing center.
Oh, you do?
One floor down. It's in the basement, but we were able to design it kind of from scratch, and we really like it. So
we might do that again then in your new digs. I
love it.
I know at that point Ryan Cowley was the director of elections, and now I guess you trained him so well that the lieutenant governor stole him from you, which is great for him because he gets to go up to another level, right? But
yeah, and he's so capable. I knew when that position opened up, from all the election directors throughout the state, I saw him as by far the most qualified, and he just provides great value there. Really good.
He's been really great at working with the legislature too, and testifying on bills, election bills, and I think he works really well with Lieutenant Governor too. So
yeah, he's super sharp legislatively, super sharp from a policy standpoint. I think he really gets it. I remember when he and I would consult, he would see things that I wouldn't until he explained it to me, and I thought, that makes sense. And so I think he's a huge asset for the lieutenant governor and really for the state in general. He's already recognized nationally for a lot of the work that he's done and that office has done.
That's great. Now, hey, we're going to take a break, and we'll come back, and I want to talk about your new election chief. Okay.
Yep, you bet.
Welcome back to the PoliticIt podcast. Again, we've got Ricky Hatch with us. Before the break, Ricky, we talked a little bit about, Ryan Cowley and him leaving your office, which left a gap there. So tell our viewers a little bit about his replacement.
Well, we did a nationwide search. We had applicants from 3 different states apply, mostly from Utah, but we had some that came in from outside. And the eventual winner we got, her name's Lauren, and she's fantastic. So she's young. She's young. And but she got her master's degree in Homeland Security, so she has a cybersecurity background. She worked for the Lieutenant Governor's office in the state elections office a few years back, so she has state elections specific experience. And then she worked for Salt Lake City in the city recorder's office and helped run their elections a couple of years ago. So she really had a great mix of skills and experience. And she's come in, she hit the ground running, making a lot of continued improvements, and has put together a fantastic team. So I'm really thrilled with what she's done and with what our team's accomplished.
Now you were talking about this new office that you have. It's actually in the same building though.
Yeah, right? It's just 1 floor down. It's in the basement, but now it's kind of a long, narrow room, kind of long and skinny, but it allows for a linear process, which from a batch processing perspective, as you're handling all those ballots, it's more controlled. It makes more sense. It allows for better viewing by poll watchers. So it's more transparent, and it's more secure and more controlled, benefits all the way around.
That's great.
Yeah, we really like it.
Well, I know one of the most important things in elections really is the continual improvement, right?
Yeah, that's and when I go and speak at conferences or talk to other election officials across the country, that's been a theme as long as I can remember. They're constantly saying, "Well, how do you do it this way?" and what could we do to improve the efficiency or to improve the security or accuracy? It's a constant theme of election officials across the country to really, you just want to do better. I mean, and especially we feel confident that the ballots are being processed accurately, but we want the public to feel confident. We want it to be so obvious that even the losing candidate will stand up and say, I don't need a recount because I've observed this process and I feel confident with it. And we've had that happen several times, but that's kind of for us the gold standard. We want everybody to feel comfortable with it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really important. I guess the real critical thing at an office like that, though, is to make sure that the voter rolls are actually accurate. Isn't that to you probably the first key step, really?
It's crucial. It's the start of everything, whether you're a by mail shop or an in-person, or like ours, we're a kind of a hybrid. But you got to have clean rolls to start with. And when I started in 2011, I read a report that said nationwide 20 to 40% of the voter rolls was inflated or inaccurate, and I just didn't believe it. I thought, how could they be that far off? And then we did our first vote by mail election, and 20% of the ballots came back undeliverable, and I thought, wow, they were right on. The rolls really were inaccurate. Now, when we mail out, it's 1.5% or 1.2% that come back undeliverable. So we've done tremendous amount of work cleaning those, and that's a multi-pronged effort. You want to check for duplicates, moves within the county, moves within the state, and also moves when people move out of state. You have to do those checks, Social Security, death index, other things like that. There's just a whole bunch of steps that we do, and we do now by state law that for a recent bill that was passed, we do monthly checks to verify that we've completed all of those different areas of double checks to make sure our rolls are clean.
I guess one of the hard things to catch, though, I mean, when somebody moves, there's something filed, right? And their mail is forwarded somewhere else. But if a child moves out, there isn't that thing to go to, right? So how do you handle those situations?
Well, we do national change of address. We've actually done a pilot program with credit rating agencies to see if maybe they could provide us with additional information, and it was marginally helpful. It wasn't as helpful as I had hoped. But the other big thing is if they move within Utah, they have to change their driver's license, and we're linked in with that, and so we can check that. Now, if they're moving outside of the state, fortunately, Utah belongs to an organization called ERIC, which is a conglomeration of multiple states, about 25 states, that share that kind of information, that check for duplicate registrations across state lines. And it's right now the only organization that provides that kind of cross-state check.
Now, there's a controversy concerning ERIC, right? I see this stuff on social media all the time, and people feel like ERIC's some group that's trying to undermine elections and stuff. Yeah. But what would you say as far as ERIC's concerned? I mean, there's certainly a privacy issue, right?
Certainly. What I would recommend, because anytime you're sharing that kind of data, you have to be ultra careful. I would say go to the ERIC website, and it's ericstates.org, and go watch their videos and look at their Q&A. ERIC is a nonprofit organization, but its board of directors, the voting members, are state employees, one from each member state. And the bylaws require that the states participate. And so the ERIC is run by the states, and they're the ones that make the decisions. And they have some pretty extensive controls. That data sharing, any personally identifiable information is hashed, and ERIC actually has no access to that. It only looks at the hashed values. It never decrypts or unhashes that. It compares the hashed values. The states don't share Utah would never get data from another state. It's only a report that comes from Eric that says this voter or these 10 voters, there might be a duplicate there, but we're the ones that make the decisions. We're the ones that do the research and then alter. They don't reach into that at all. And Eric is subject to audits, and all of that is up on their website.
Oh, that sounds. Yeah, I think people should look into that a little bit more, huh?
I think that's great, and I love it when people ask questions because it shows they care. But if you go in and look and see what happens at Eric and what they actually do with the data and what kind of audits they're subject to, it's hard-pressed to find hard and fast evidence that Eric has done anything other than what its charter says and what the members vote.
And what is that charter then?
It's really to help provide cross-checking to make sure that people aren't registered in more than one state or people don't vote in more than one state.
You know, and what's interesting to me is that's a major concern people have, that we're not cleaning the voter rolls, right?
Yeah.
That people are voting in Utah that shouldn't be voting in Utah, right? Yeah. And so, but there's always that. I actually appreciate people, like you said, that care about things, that want to question what's going on. I think that's really important, I think.
I agree. I did a podcast with a new podcast called The Voting Booth, and it's by the American Enterprise Institute and John Fortier. It's a good conservative think tank back in Washington, D.C., and we talked about that exact thing. When people come to me with concerns and challenges, I welcome that. I like that because it shows that they care. And if I got all of my information from certain sources, I would feel the same way, absolutely. And my goal is to say, let's broaden what we're looking at, and let me provide you with some additional information. Let's go to the websites, let's go to the sources and see. And if after looking at all of those sources you still feel concerned about it, that's okay. I don't fault you for that at all. But let's at least make our decisions and our opinions formed on multiple areas of evidence, not just one set.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that are in the background looking at things, and what's good as a public official is to be able to respond to those things, right? And take things seriously that people say. That doesn't mean what's interesting is it doesn't mean that you always have to side with people that have theories about what's going on, right?
Right.
But it's part of weighing all the evidence, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I may not agree with whatever concerns they have or the severity of their concerns or the areas of concern, but I will always agree to listen. I will always listen and seriously consider what they have to say, because I'm not omniscient. I don't know everything. Absolutely not. We're all learning. And when I tell people to come through and tour our centers, I say, think like a crook, because I want you to find holes. If you can find them, then I'll try to plug them. But as soon as you think you know everything, you should no longer be in public office. And I am fortunately very far from knowing everything.
Well, I appreciate it because, when I go to the county party meetings, I see you there a lot, and you engage with people, which is good, right? You're trying to be involved and answer concerns that people have.
Yeah, I mean, I love our state party platform. That's what solidified me as a Republican many years ago. Is I love the concepts in the party platform, and I think it's important to go to the convention and caucus meetings and the leadership meetings to see what the concerns are and to see how the party's functioning and to help support the party so that we continue to get conservatives elected and have good governance. Yeah. I mean, right now the party is the way to do that, and so I fully support it.
That's great. Well, we've been talking to Ricky Hatch. I appreciate you, Ricky, for always being willing to come and have a conversation. And we'll see you guys next week.